Hello everyone, my name is Allison and today I'm going to talk to you about management. So I'm going to use the material from the book Mgmt, Second Canadian Edition. I'm going to mix both chapters 12, that is managing individuals and a diverse workforce, as well as chapter 16, that is control. I decided to mix both chapters because I think it's very interesting to always consider diversity in the workforce. So this is the outline. I'm going to first introduce a case study. Then I'm going to make the difference between employment equity and diversity. I'm going to point out the difference between surface and deep level diversity, explain diversity management and different training and practices that are available. Then as for the chapter 16, I'm going to talk about the control process more precisely. And finally, what are the components to control within an organization? So let's introduce our case first. Sam has to manage a diverse workforce for the first time, and he has to create a balanced scorecard. His first mandate is to understand the impacts of diversity on the work dynamics, and the second one is to understand how diversity impacts on controlling. Sam has the following objectives to meet. First, he has to understand diversity, then recognize discrimination as an issue, identify different means for diversity trainings, understand the control process, and create a balanced scorecard. That being said, I'm going to use the material of the Management Second Canadian Edition as a work reference. So here we have two basic concepts related to diversity. First, we have employment equity and employment diversity. Those two concepts may look the same, but actually they aren't. First, employment equity is an ongoing planning process used by an employer to eliminate barriers in an organization's employment procedures and to ensure appropriate representation of specific members of the workforce. It focuses more narrowly on demographic, that is, gender, race, and physical abilities. On the other side, we have the employment diversity, that is, a variety of demographic, cultural, and personal differences among an organization's employees and customers. It broadly includes demographics, as well as cultural and personal differences. So this brings me to differentiate both surface level diversity and deep level diversity. We talk about surface level diversity as the differences such as age, gender, race or ethnicity, and physical disabilities that are observable, typically unchangeable and easy to measure. While we talk about deep level diversity as the differences such as personality and attitudes that are communicated through verbal and nonverbal behaviors and are learned only through extended interaction with others. So it includes disposition, personality, extraversion, emotional stability, agreeableness, consciousness, and openness to experience. So here we can see that deep level diversity is more complex than surface level diversity. So now that we've learned about deep level and surface level diversity, we have to know how do we handle this diversity. So an option would be to create a learning and effectiveness diversity paradigm. It includes mainly to understand that a diverse workforce will embody different perspectives and approaches. It includes to recognize both the learning opportunities and the challenges that the expression of different perspectives presents. You have to set high standards of performance for everyone. You have to create an organizational culture that stimulates personal development and growth. You have to encourage openness and a high tolerance for debate. You have to create an organizational culture in which workers feel valued. You have to establish a clear mission and make sure it is widely understood. And finally, you have to create a relatively egalitarian structure. So above all, you have to know that everybody is different and that it can bring something very special to the organization that is valuable. So now I'm going to talk about diversity training and practices. So how do we train about diversity? So there are four: awareness training, skill-based diversity training, diversity audits, and diversity pairing. We talk about awareness training by being a training designed to raise employees' awareness of diversity issues and to challenge the underlying assumption or stereotypes that may have about others. A skill-based diversity training is a training that teaches employees the practical skills they need for managing a diverse workforce, such as flexibility and adaptability, negotiation, problem solving, and conflict resolution skills. You have the diversity audits that are formal assessments that measure employee and management attitudes, investigate the extent to which people are advantaged or disadvantaged with respect to hiring and promotion, and review companies' diversity-related policies and procedures. And then you have diversity pairing. It is a mentoring program in which people of different cultural backgrounds, sexes, or races and ethnicities are paired together to get to know one another and change stereotypical beliefs and attitudes. So now the control process. So here we are in the chapter 16 of the book. So there are 6 steps of the control process that are establishing standards, comparisons of standards, corrective action, dynamic cybernetic process, control methods, and control loss. So first, establishing standards. So the purpose is to specify performance standards that must be met towards the achievement of an organizational goal. A standard is a basis of comparison for measuring the extent to which organizational performance is satisfactory or unsatisfactory. And also you have benchmarking. Benchmarking is a concept that is the process of determining other companies' standards. So you can compare with the others what their standards are. Then you have comparison of standards. So the purpose is to compare actual performance to performance standards. So now you can have different means. You have either measurement and information systems, so you use different systems to measure the performance, or you have also the mystery shoppers. We can think of, for example, in department stores. Then you have the correcting action. The correcting action's purpose is to identify performance deviations, analyze those deviations, and then develop and implement programs to correct them. You can think of beta versions as a mean to make corrective actions. For example, you can think of the application page with iCloud. So now, the dynamic cybernetic process. So the purpose is to repeat the entire control process, that is, the first 3 steps, in an endless feedback loop as long as there are deviations to be fixed. So here, we can talk about cybernetic as the process of steering or keeping on course. So the image that comes from the book at page 276 is what a dynamic cybernetic process is. As for the control methods, the purpose is to improve individual and organizational performance. So you have 3 types of control that are feedback control, concurrent control, and feed-forward control. Feedback control is a mechanism for gathering information about performance deficiencies after they occur. Concurrent control is a mechanism for gathering information about performance deficiencies as they occur, thereby eliminating or shortening the delay between performance and feedbacks. Feed-forward control is a mechanism for monitoring performance inputs rather than outputs to prevent or minimize performance deficiencies before they occur. So as for the control loss, the purpose is to find out which procedures could have been done differently, if any, to prevent such loss of control. A control loss is a situation in which behavior and work procedures do not conform to standards. So in a manager's life, a control loss is a possibility. So now, what to control? There are different things to control as a manager. For example, a balanced scorecard, budgets, cash flows, EVA, customers' defections, quality, waste and pollution. So these are different components that can be an idea or a measure of a control. So I decided more to talk only about a balanced scorecard because it relates more to people and people's perspectives. So a balanced scorecard is a measurement of organizational performance from 4 equally important perspectives. It includes finances, customers, internal operations, and innovation and learning. So now, as a conclusion, our friend Sam from the case study has to understand that diversity is everywhere. So we can relate the balanced scorecard with diversity. So diversity is your employees, diversity is your customers, and diversity brings different perspectives and new ideas for your organizations to grow. So this is very important why diversity needs to be considered in the workplace. So this is my last videos about management and also as a St. Lawrence student. So these are my sources and thanks for watching.